Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 10th week of the spring semester. So, a couple of things I want to talk about this week. First of all, some of you are struggling with this class and your grades are not very high. This coming Friday, the 19th, is the deadline to withdraw from this class without academic penalty. If you've not been turning in your assignments, if you're, getting low quiz grades, you're not doing the discussions every week, and if you're not turning in the essays and projects, you have a decision to make. So, to be perfectly blunt, some of you need to make the decision to go ahead and withdraw. If you're going to do that, this coming Friday is the deadline to do that without academic penalty. After that, you might as well try and stick it out and do all the work because um, then you'll get what's called a WF, which is still a failing grade. All right, now, what are we going to do in this class this week? We're doing British imperialism. Just like the Industrial Revolution that we studied a couple weeks ago, British imperialism also changed our world permanently. So there were many reasons why the British decided to expand their reach throughout the world during the reign of Queen Victoria. So, and a lot of it was to benefit England. So what would happen is England would go in and conquer these countries and they would extract all the resources, and Britain, or England, if you will, would benefit greatly while the natives of that country that had been invaded had actually suffered a lot. In fact, they actually got the worst end of it all. It is said that during this British imperialism period, that the sun never set on Queen Victoria's rule because somewhere in the world, wherever there was sunlight, it was shining on a piece of land that England had claimed for its own. And this went on for all seven continents, including Antarctica. So those are things to look at as you go through the PowerPoint and then as you read this week's reading. This week's reading is The Man Who Would Be King by Rudyard Kipling. If you're familiar with Rudyard Kipling, it's probably because he wrote The Jungle Book. And of course, Disney made a couple of movies about it. The animated version, the original animated version, was the last movie that Walt Disney worked on during his lifetime. Then, of course, there's been a live action animation made much more recently than that. So that's what he's most well known for. But this particular story that we're going to read this week, The Man Who Would Be King, was made into a movie, by the way, in 1975, starring Sean Connery and Michael Caine. It's about a couple of ne'er-do-wells by the name of Daniel Dravit and Peachy Carnahan, who end up going into a place called Kafiristan, conquering it, and Daniel and Peachy end up becoming the rulers of this foreign land. What's interesting about this is that the methods that Daniel and Peachy use in order to conquer Kafiristan are very, very similar to the methods that England used to conquer foreign lands as well. So, what Kipling has done was taken a couple of characters here and shown them to use the same techniques that England itself used as a way to conquer a foreign land and put it under their own rule. And in this particular story, Daniel and Peachy are thought of as gods until a certain event happens that changes the natives' minds. So it doesn't end well for Daniel and Peachy, by the way. So um, that is the readings, and there is a reading quiz on that in the slideshow. In addition to that, there's the discussion question. I want you to read the discussion question carefully because last semester, a lot of people thought that I wanted them to rage against American politicians, particularly Donald Trump or Joe Biden. That's not what this question is asking. Read the definition of imperial power very carefully and then answer the question based on that, not based on internal American politics. So be careful about that. Finally, this is the week of the Victorian exam. So we're closing out the Victorian period this week. Use the study sheet. Remember that in the Victorian exam, there will be some general knowledge questions. There will also be some direct quotes. The direct quotes will usually have a word, a phrase, a sentence, something in there that will be a dead giveaway to what the answer is. And of course, they're all multiple choice. So you got four choices there. The right answer is one of those. So think about that as you take this Victorian exam. So that's what we're doing this week. We're reading The Man Who Would Be King. We're looking at British imperialism. We are taking that quiz. We are answering the discussion question about whether or not America today is an imperial power. And then we are taking the Victorian exam of everything from Alfred Lord Tennyson all the way to this week. So if you have any questions, of course, email me, and I will look forward to seeing your responses to this stuff.